I'm Patty Simpson with Simpson Math. In this video, we're going to look at some statistical vocabulary. In particular, we're going to look at the difference between a population and a sample. So in statistics, a lot of times we will want to study something and gather data. And the first thing we want to do is determine what is the population that we are studying. And the population is just the entire group that we're interested in. So when we're talking about the population, we should always include words like all, or whole, or entire, because we're looking at the whole group that we're interested in. Then we'd like to collect data from that entire group, but it's just not possible. It's really hard and time consuming and costs a lot of money to collect data from an entire group. So instead, what we do is we just collect data from part of the group, or we call that part of the group or a subset of our population. We call that the sample. So the sample is just a part of the population or a subset of the population that we actually are able to collect data from. So let's just think for a second of a couple of different scenarios. For instance, maybe I want to study the pecan trees in my orchard, and I want to count and see how many pecans fall on the ground from a particular, from the trees. What's the average number of pecans that fall on the ground from my trees? Well, I'd have to go around to all my trees and count the number of pecans that fell down. And think about how much time, if I have, say, 100 trees, that might take me to do. So instead, what I might do is just choose, by the way, all of my trees in my orchard. That's what I'm interested in. That would be my population. But maybe I just go to 5 of them and I see how many pecans are underneath them each day. And I count the number of pecans underneath that tree each day. Those 5 trees that I'm counting from, I'm collecting data from, those 5 are my sample. Here's another example of it. Here at Southwest Elementary wants to know the average number of homework assignments completed by the students in their school. 700 students are enrolled in the school. 5 students from each grade level, pre-K to 5th, are selected. The 35 students are asked to record the number of homework assignments completed. So let's look at their group of interest. Who is it that they're interested in? Well, they're interested with their students, all of the students at their school. Notice though that they are not interested in the students at Jefferson Elementary. They don't care about them. They're not worried about the ones at Miller Heights Elementary. They're only worried about their students. But the population of interest, is all the students at Southwest Elementary. Notice when I describe my population, I'm using that word all. Again, you should include words like all or whole or entire. But it's really important that we're able to determine what our population is. Who is it that's our group of interest? Then our sample, in this case, are just the ones that data was collected from. So the part of this population, the students at Southwest Elementary, where data was collected. So just these students. So the sample are the students from the school, from Southwest Elementary, that data was collected from. That part that they were collected from. Now, if we want to talk about the sample size, how big is my sample? When I'm talking about sample size, the size of the population size, let's start with population size, that entire group, How many people are in my entire group? Well, it tells me in here that there are 700 students. So in this case, my population is 700 students. A lot of times we can't determine exactly how many people are even in our population, for sure. But here it tells us that there are 700 students enrolled in the school. We use a capital N to notate population size. So to show the population is the words here, the group of interest. The population size we denote with a capital N, population size. So in this case, my population size is equal to 700. There are 700 students enrolled in the school. And then the sample, for a sample, we use a lowercase n. We denote that sample size with a lowercase n. So in statistics, anytime you see that capital N, you can think that's the population size. And anytime you see the lowercase n, you can think that's the sample, the ones where data was collected from, the part of the population. So in this case, my sample size is 35. So the difference between the population and the sample, the population is the entire group of interest, where the sample is just the part where we've collected data from them. Math Made Simple at Simpson Math. Thanks for watching.